Cowboy Jim out here in Fort McMurray, Alberta. Just was watching CTV News, and the little lady whose last name is Leach was denied bail. The one thing that I think you truckers need to understand is that Trudeau is going to do everything in his power to hold on to power. And what that encompasses is every bloody blessed thing he can think of. Now here, this is critical. A lady in Canada was denied bail because she protested. You may not understand the significance of that, but understand this. Trudeau is going to do everything in his power to cause you, as Canadians, to do something wrong. And what Trudeau wants you to do is to break the law. He wants you to take the protest that he would not address himself on a personal basis. And he wants you to screw up. He wants you to do something wrong that will justify his sin of invoking the Emergencies Act. He wants you to so screw up that he will not have to remove that Emergencies Act. The NDP in Ottawa are gutless. Several Liberal MPs are also gutless because they know, they know down deep in their heart what Justin Trudeau is trying to do. And he's trying to justify his choices. That's what a coward does when they will not humble themselves before the electorate, before you as Canadians. I caution you truckers. Dear God in heaven, don't screw up. Don't raise a hand to resist. I watched that European truck driver this morning. He's been in Canada for 21 years, being beaten on a video by the police. There was one RCMP officer, whoever that bastard was, and I do not speak casually against law and order. Scripture says if you haven't done anything wrong, you have no need to fear the policeman. That policeman did wrong. That bastard kicked that man who was prostrate on the ground, being held down by at least two other officers, and that useless piece of human shit called an RCMP officer kneed him in the ribs 4 times. RCMP officer, you know who you are. I wished I knew who you were. I wished I had the privilege and the honor of saying hello to you on a personal level. In a boxing ring, any other thing that was supervised, you prick. You knee someone who is submitted. He climbed out of his truck and he put his hands above his head. And you beat the hell out of him? Well, you're no different than Trudeau. But get this, truckers. Get this, truckers. What that bastard RCMP officer, who I pray does not reflect well the average Canadian RCMP. That man has brought shame on the badge. And that man, that RCMP officer has brought shame on the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. P.S. Also that idiot on the horse who ran over the 70-year-old lady. You arrogant pricks. Understand something. I understand the emotions of the moment. I rather love adrenaline pumping through my veins. But you all better remember, behave. Don't let the adrenaline take over. Truckers, don't let the adrenaline take over. Don't do anything wrong, because you'll just play right into Trudeau's hands. If the RCMP stand for what they say they do, then that RCMP officer will be prosecuted who need that man in the ribs. I happen to know what broken ribs are like. I happen to know what being defamed, denigrated. I know how that feels. Truckers, you're not alone. An awful lot of Canadian people stand with you. An awful lot of Canadian people saw that atrocity of that RCMP officer. RCMP, there are those, there's a movement afoot in Alberta to get rid of the RCMP. You better clean house, children. You better get your ducks in a row. You allow officers to go outside the law. One man on his face being handcuffed, and that prick officer who does not, I pray to God, does not reflect the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, that prick, kneeing him in the ribs 4 times. I watched. I stand for law and order, but I will not stand for law and order breaking the law in order in their mind's eye to restore order. The methodology is important. You have to behave right. We're Canadians. Truckers, don't succumb to Justin Trudeau's attempt at making you further break the law beyond your freedom of speech. Don't let there be an uprising. People, don't let there be an uprising. That little Leach girl will never get out of jail, because Justin Trudeau will never remove the Emergencies Act, and that's what he's hoping. He's hoping that you're going to screw up so he doesn't have to, so that he can be the dictator that his dad always wanted to be, and not even his dad, but that Justin Trudeau has always wanted as well. God bless. Use some smarts, children. Use some smarts. You got them. Shame on that RCMP officer in Ottawa kneeing a man who willingly submitted, willingly turned himself in, got out of his own truck, got down on the ground, and then had the hell beaten out of him by some idiot prick who calls himself an RCMP officer. Horseshit. A true RCMP officer stands for what is right. Will not stand for that horseshit. Old Cowboy Jim. Canadian truckers stand for something, but do it legally, or you're going to fall for everything, just like that coward Trudeau, and just like that coward RCMP officer putting the knee to a man who had submitted already, 2 other officers putting handcuffs on, and that prick gave him a beating. Shame on you. You should bloody resign from the RCMP. You bring shame on the Canadian Royal Mounted Police. And that other guy who ran over the old lady with the horse, you should be ashamed too, son. That's fact. God bless Canada. Don't piss us Canadians off any more than you already have. Canadian truckers, don't you get upset. You do the right thing. You're bigger than that prick who beat the hell out of a man already submitting, already being cuffed on the ground. RCMP, you investigate that prick, because he does not deserve to be an RCMP officer, and that's a fact. That's fact.